Hello naughties. We are feeling romantic here in the Just Desserts kitchen because, well, it's Valentine's Day, right? And what better place to go than Monaco? Yeah, we're romancing in Monaco, and today we are going to make a very Monacoan, something from Monaco, very romantic. It's called Millefeuille, which you may well have heard of. It's a divine dish and very romantic because it's stuffed full of strawberries and cream and puff pastry. Millefeuille is it's quite easy to make, I think. Not that I've made it before, but it is super divine. I've eaten far too many in my life, and very romantic. So you'd forgive me if I loosen myself up a little bit. I'm speaking with a French accent. I don't know why. I think that is romance, you know. The French are sexy. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, naughties, is we're going to deal with the puff. Don't fret, I've just taken this out of the fridge, so it's nice and cool, because you don't want warm puff pastry, do you? We've already learned that, and I'm going to, I'm just going to throw that over there, and we are going to unfold our puff pastry. What's going to happen is we're going to make 3, maybe 4 layers of very squashed down puff, and in between it there's going to be this divine custardy, creamy thing with strawberries on top. So we'll get because the puff does take a bit of time to get ready. I'm going to do that first. Of course, as I always say, you can cook your own puff if you feel, well, if you've got nothing better to do, but I recommend frozen, which is exactly what I've got. I'm going to cut these sheets, which is how they come in Yankee Doodle Dandy Town, in half. And let me see, I can probably get, well, I've got 2 sheets. So I'm going to put 2 on there, and 2 on the next one, and I'm going to slap them in the oven for 35 minutes until they're, puffed up. Well, that's what puff pastry does for a living. I mean, it's not necessarily a line of work that I would get into, but you got to make a living. So this goes in for 35 minutes. Oven is at 350, and in you go, and there goes the other one. Next, whilst that's going for 35, we are going to make the custard. And as you know, custard is basically eggs and milk with a little bit of sugar. In this case, we're going to thicken it with a bit of corn flour and some butter. Okay, so get a small pot, and you are going to put in 2 cups of milk. Glug 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 glug. There we go, and we are going to, if you're being truly romantic, put in some a vanilla pod, but you know me, I've got very good Madagascan, and about a bit more. There you go, and in there. I am just going to put a tiny bit of sugar. I've got 3/4 cup here to make the whole custard, but I'm going to put in about 1.5 tablespoons. And keep an eye on it, naughties. You don't want this boiling over because it's a hideous mess and I'm not in the mood for tidying it up. Okay. So that's heating. One eye is on the milk whilst I take 4 previously prepared egg yolks. They don't come like this normally. So what I did was I cracked the egg and I separated the white from it. I'm trying to be funny, I'm not being even vaguely. And then into that I'm going to put the rest of I don't know why I'm doing that, but anyway, that's the rest of the sugar. That goes in there. And then I'm going to give it a stir. I don't want to waste another spatula, so I'm just going to use the whisk. I'm starting to think that might have been a mistake, but I'm just going to act confident, carry on like I know what I'm doing. Here we go. There you go. That worked out quite nicely. And so, once the milk has come to a boil, we will add the eggs. So the milk is getting pretty close to boiling. I am going to add some corn flour. This is a third of a cup of, sorry, it's not a third of a cup, it's 3.5 tablespoons of corn flour. As you know, corn flour is the big thickener. It doesn't really have any taste. But it does make runny things thick. So I'm just adding that to the egg and sugar mixture whilst the milk finally comes to a boil, and it looks like it is just about there. Ooh, see how it just looks so lovely. It's a lovely thick smooth paste. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I think, let me just test that, yeah, that's going to be hot enough. I'm going to take it off the heat, but I'm not going to turn the heat off, because once I add this, I will be putting it back on the heat. Scrape the mixture in. Gorgeous. And it goes. Yum yum bubbly gum gum. And as I say, straight back onto a very low flame though. You're not bringing this to a boil, you are simply thickening it with the corn flour. So gently whisk it around. At the moment it's quite runny, but after a few minutes it will thicken up into what is a gorgeous custard. What we're going to move on to now is the icing. A cup of milk, and we are going to put 1/4 of a cup of flour into that. And we'll get, what's that? Oh, I already had 1/4 of a cup of flour. Never mind. And I'm going to get my other whisk, and slightly oversized, and blend it into a milky paste. You're going to bring this to the boil, which shouldn't take desperately long. And once it has turned into a nice paste, or a thickened milk, you can let it cool down. Into that you're going to put butter, shortening, sugar to make the icing. So I'm coming back to the custard. It's thickened, it's cooled down a bit. What I'm going to do is I am going to put in 1/4 of a cup of butter, and to make it super divinely rich. Still quite warm, so it will melt easily, but I put in a little chunk at a time. Mix it in thoroughly, and then put in another little chunk and do the same thing. This again, you know, it's just going to make it all the more decadent and divine. I don't think you would normally do this with a regular custard. This is a sort of more of a patisserie kind of type of custard. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hull the strawberries. We need 1.5 pounds of strawberries. Do you hear that beeping? That's our puff. It's ready. Hopefully it will be little golden mountains of flaky divinity. Oh, yeah, okay, ish. Let's have a look. Not that golden up top. We'll work with them. Because these are going to have to be... Woo! That was hot. No, they're golden enough. Now, you saw me put the pan on top of the thingy there, yet, which you might think is really amateur, but actually I'm thinking ahead. Because what we are going, as criminal as it may sound, we're going to take the puff out of the puff. And I'm sure there is a better technique for this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some parchment paper on top of the bottom one, and I am simply going to squish it on top like that. In fact, I'm going to give it a little bit of squish action so that you're taking the air out of the puff. These, as I think I said earlier, these will form the layers in between the millefeuille, which I think means 1,000 flowers. So let's do the same for that one. I'm going to leave the oven on because the puff is going to go back in a minute. But let's squash that down. Squishy, squishy. And we'll let that cool. Okay, so we've got basically all the ingredients now. The one thing that I did want to catch you up on is the icing. Now, you'll remember I put milk and sugar, milk and flour, brought it to the boil, and then into that I put a stick of butter, so half a cup of butter, half a cup of shortening, and a cup of sugar. And what we're going to do is, once this is cooled down a teeny bit, is we're going to slather the icing onto the puff, put it in the oven for a few minutes until the sugar starts to caramelize a bit. Once we've done that, we will be ready to start putting our cake together. So let's see how we are doing with our squishy. Oh, look at that! That looks good. That works for me. Let us get a blushy, and we are going to put it over the flatter side. So I'm going to turn it over. Look at all that gorgeous flakiness. It's still a bit hot. You can let it cool. I'm going to live dangerously and put it straight on because it is, after all, going to go straight back into the oven anyway. So there's that, and a bit more here. So the oven is at 425, and we're going to slap the puff coated with icing sugar. Do you know, I'm going to put that one, I'm not going to put that one, I'm going to put that one on the bottom, because I don't want any more browning. And that goes in for 4 minutes, and we'll be back in 2 ticks. So whilst we're waiting the 4 minutes for the pastry to do its thing, what we're going to do, I've whipped some cream, and we are going to fold that into the custard. To, I guess, you know, this is really pretty close to being a crème anglaise. In fact, it may well be. I'd be pretty hard pressed to say that with great authority. But it's got cream, and it's made by an Englishman. So that's crème anglaise anyhow. Okay, that goes there. Sorry about the noise. This, you're going to fold this in. Folding is basically, you know, being careful not to take the volume out of the whipped cream. So let's give it a little foldy, foldy, foldy. And once this is done, my dear naughties, we are going to be ready to put our cake together. Puff's ready. Let's get it out. Okay, that's what the babies look like. And ooh, just have a look at those naughtinesses. Now look, those are a little bit browner. They might need a little flipping to hide the brownness. But ideally, ladies and gentlemen, you would let these cool completely. In the interests of getting it done, I'm going to let them be a bit warm still, well, obviously because they come out of the oven. But if you want to stop the millefeuille from actually kind of melting everywhere, which I warn you this might happen a bit, let it cool. Okay, so that's our first layer. Onto that layer we are putting our creme anglaise, and here it is, looking good. What's up?
Hey Tim, what's cooking?
Ava, what you doing here? You're not snooping around in the flower beds again, are you? Because I caught you doing that the other day, didn't I? Are you peckish? Are you hungry?
Yeah,
Because
so hungry.
I'm making something super tasty.
Yeah.
You're going to love it. And I tell you what, you can help me if you fancy. What I am doing is I'm just going to get a spoon. You are going to be in charge of strawberries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on here, and then you're going to sprinkle the strawberries all over the custard, okay? I'm going to do that a few times. So here's our first layer. Naughty, naughty, yummy, yummy, naughty, 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 hope you're feeling hungry, 'cause if you're not, we're going to have a lot of millefeuille. Okay, off you go. Put some strawberry, I'll show you, here, like this. So just get a little handful and some more strawberries, and do that all over, okay? And whilst you're doing that, I'm going to get the next layer ready. I'm going to turn it upside down for the purposes of aesthetics. There we go. Yum, yum, yum. I'll give you a hand. Here it is. And look at that. Looks really untasty, hey? You're not going to like that, I don't think. Okay, and then we put another layer of this on. Squish McSquish. There it goes. And I'll put some more custardy on, or creme anglaise as we call it in the Bizola.
Or glue.
Glue!
Not real glue, just that glue.
Yeah, it's tastier than glue. But if they made glue like this, I think I would just be eating glue all day. It's getting to be quite a masterpiece. Look at it. I'm so glad you came. There's the last one. This.
Okay.
Now, I tell you what, my Valentine, whatever they think of me, they're going to know I love them. Yeah. Look at that. Now, come on. Try and tell me that isn't the most divine, love-laden thing you've ever seen in your entire life.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. We've got lots of the custard left, so I'm going to try and put as much as I can on and maybe drip a bit more to make it look sort of vaguely arty. Put the last lot on. And I'm going to do a little bit of a tidy here, just to make it look not quite so gushy, gooey and globby. Whoa! Let's put a little bit of icing sugar on, or what do we call icing sugar? Confectioner's sugar.
That's like snow.
It is. Snow and strawberries, yummy, yummy strawberries. So we have the really disappointing job of having to taste test it. Ava, you're very upset.
No, I'm really excited.
You are too cute. Okay, well, come on. Hopefully, this won't catapult strawberries on your head when I do it. I'm probably not going to be able to cut it in whole slices. There'll be little diddies. Ooh. At the nose is the best way to go. Oh, actually, doing not too badly, he says as it cascades onto the kitchen floor. Okay, so I've made a whole slice. And I think we should just try that together.
Yeah.
So there it goes. Oh!
That's a
flaky. Ah! My milk Well, what can I say? My millefleur looked beautiful for 3 minutes. And then it died, but we're going to try it anyway, aren't we? It'll all taste fine.
Yeah.
It all ends up, in the same place. Try a forky, and you go first, my love.
Okay.
Not that bit. Do that bit. Yeah. Which bit you can do? There you go. Oh, okay, that bit. Yeah. I'm gonna have this bit.
Good.
What's it taste like?
Tastes good.
Speechless.
Yummy.
Divinity.
Delicious.
Yeah. If I were to make one tiny suggestion, don't be overly anxious like me and try and put your cake together when everything still needs to cool, because as you can see it can end in tears, but the taste is sublime. So Ava, Bebeva, fill in fan fo favour, and I are going to say thank you so much for watching. It's quite a long one today, but check us out in all our places, which we'll show you, and have a supersonically happy Valentine's Day.
Wait, don't forget, this is delicious.